Right, today on Clay 101 we are going to talk about chalks and related items for coloring your clay. So stay tuned and see what these are and how to use them. Alright, if you've been following my channel for very long, you've most often seen me use chalk. These are artist chalks. These are a very inexpensive set that I bought at a craft store many years ago. They are used by people that do drawings. They're usually used for drawing and sketching. I love the effects I can get with chalks. I've got them all over my fingers already and I haven't even started the video. I love the effects I can get with chalk. It's a great way to color the outside of the clay. You do it on raw clay, and once you bake the clay, it becomes a permanent part of the clay. And it's wonderful. You can get some beautiful effects. You can blend them. They're gorgeous. There are several ways. First, obviously, you have to get them off of the stick and onto your clay. And just brushing against it doesn't really work. My go-to method is to have a cheap palette. This is actually one that's from Dollar Tree. They come in a set. And let's play, since we are doing fun stuff today, let's play with fun colors instead of the colors I use for foods all the time. So I like to take a knife, not my clay knife, a knife I'm not using for clay, just a craft knife, and I shave off some. And that's how I use mine. Then I dip my brush into that. Some people I've seen draw the chalk really hard on a piece of paper. That works too. Do whatever works best for you. So let's talk about using these, and then we'll go on to some other options that are similar but not quite the same. Let's get a piece of clay over here. I've just got some white clay and brushes. For my chalks, using my chalks dry, and that's what we're going to talk about first. I like to use an eyeshadow brush. Eyeshadow brushes are developed for dry, powdery type applications. They're not designed for wet applications like most paint brushes. I have the best luck with eyeshadow brushes, and these are all really cheap ones from Walmart or the dollar store, someplace like that. They're inexpensive. I've washed them many times. They do get stained after a while, especially these ones with the darn white bristles. But all you need to do is dip your brush in, kind of work with it so you know it's really loaded, and then burnish. I'm pushing down. I'm not pushing down hard enough to damage my clay or change the shape, but you do need to burnish it in order to make it stick. That's part of getting a good adhesion once it's baked. Now let's take another color. I'll show you how these blend. I've got a blue. And I use these not only for foods, I use them when I'm doing, trying to make pottery too, for miniature, out of polymer clay. I should put a paper towel. I got them here. Now we've blended the blue into the pink and made a beautiful purple. If I was to bake that, that would be a permanent part of that clay, but it only is on the surface. So if you needed to, like you could, if you're making an item that you're going to cut, you would just stick this in the freezer, make sure it's nice and firm. Sorry, I forgot to get my knife out. And then you could cut it, and the color is only on the surface. I use this method a lot when I'm making fruits and vegetables, things like that. Let's talk about some other dry mediums, and then we're going to come back to the chalks and do something kind of fun. All right, these are pan chalks. This set I bought several on a clearance several years ago at a craft store, but they're still available. This particular one probably isn't, but it's very similar to it is. These do work a little better pulling them off sometimes. If they don't, you can always then just take your knife and loosen some up. And that way it will stay with the pan of clay, of chalk. There, that's better. These are a little more subtle, but I think that's because these are very cheap. They're even cheaper than the others. I think I paid like $1 for, in fact, I think I paid less than $1 for these. These are not a great quality, but they're kind of fun to use, and I like the subtleness of the colors in these. They're great for some projects. But basically they're the same as the chalks and the stick, they're just a different format. Let's go on to one more option and then we'll talk about something else. Now another option is eyeshadow. These happen to be loose powdered eyeshadows that I got at Dollar Tree, again, a few years back. I love these because they come with their own little brush, which is kind of cool. The thing you have to worry about with eyeshadow is a lot of eyeshadows sparkle. I don't know if it's showing on the camera, but this definitely has a sparkle. I think the black one will show up better. You can also use the ones that are in the pans and just treat them just like you would chalk. Again, being very careful that you are, if you're making food, to not get ones that have sparkle in them. But they're for certain special effects, the sparkle is fantastic. So we're going to do one more thing before we close. I'll be right back. One more thing with our chalks, and these are the very same chalks I used earlier. They're still in there. And that is to use them wet. And you'll get a different effect with them if you use them wet. A couple of things I have found over time doing this, because I've been playing around with this lately. Use a cheap paintbrush, because this is going to stain whatever brush you use for it. It's going to stain. This stains so much worse than any paint I've ever used. And I will probably end up with stain in my little palette here too. And it doesn't take much water. You can do the same thing by taking some of the chalk pastel pan ones, getting that into a container, or your eyeshadow. Those also will work wet and give you a slightly different effect than dry. But get those wet, and it's going to be a little more grainy, but it's going to be a much more, we're not going to notice it so much with these colors. Probably, I should have probably chosen a lighter color. It's a much deeper, darker tone. I find using this, if you've got something that you really want to really have a deep color and your chalk isn't giving you a deep enough color, this is a good way to do that. And you might need to do 2 coats. Do a layer, let it dry, come back, get some more wet chalk and put over it. And again, you can mix them. Some colors work better than others. This hot pink is not working as well as some of the others I've used. On my other channel, the 18-inch doll channel, I did some cheese balls a while back, and that was the only way I could get those that really bright, intense orange was wet chalk on the polymer clay. So it's just another option. It gives you a different look, and it stretches your supplies a little better. Just be sure and wash the brush. Wash the brush after all of these, quite frankly. You don't want to ruin a brush doing this. So that's just a few ways to color your polymer clay with chalks and the like. I hope you found this informative. If you did, be sure and check the blog post. Be sure and let me know what other things you'd like to learn about polymer clay. If you like the video, hit the like button, leave me a question. If you enjoy my content and haven't subscribed, I encourage you, hit that subscription button and the notification bell so you know when I put up my next video, and I will talk to you later. Bye.